Welcome, dear friends, family, and lovers of art. My name is Lew Lautin, and this is Remnants, a lifelong artistic journey. Remnants was born from my love of art and my love and respect for family. A gigantic thank you. Where did Susanna go? A gigantic thank you to the Adolph and Rose Levis Jewish Community Center, the amazing staff and volunteers. In early of July of this year, I called and asked about the opportunity to teach a workshop on creating art from old family images. What's like 1,000 hours later, Susanna? Luck would have it that I met with Susanna Flom, the Judy and Alan Schumann Gallery Director. From that meeting evolved this show. I can't thank Susan enough for helping me to bring the show from concept to completion. And I guess that's what art is. We have a concept, and we work on the concept, and we work on it, and hopefully we bring it to completion. So why did I want to start with a video of a song I wrote? What you're about to see first is a music video based on song lyrics I wrote in 1982. I've written a couple of songs in my life, and it was a lot of fun. Using my father's home movies, I created an artistic tribute to my mother. Shout out to Jay Martin for his production and Laurie Miller for providing beautiful vocals. After the video, we will regroup in front of the exhibition hall, and I will share my creative vision of this artistic installation, which began with the first images of my Schechter's great-grandparents in the village of Prishina, near the town of Sleda, near the city of Kolvin, Ukraine, Russia. 1920, 100 years ago. Enjoy the journey.
It was cold, crystal clear, and the stars were so bright, and the moon was aglow. What a beautiful sight. He spied a young girl with her hair flaxen gold, and he said, "Pardon, miss, but may I be so bold as to ask you your name? Do you live around here?
That's me.
I walk you on home.
1945.
Beauty so fair, it was love, love, wondrous love, 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 from heaven above. It was love, love, wondrous love. It was love from heaven above. Then she blushed and said yes, and he started to smile, and they laughed, and they walked, and they talked for a while about the meanings of life and their feelings inside. And he said, "My fair miss, would you be my bride?" They married that spring, and the flowers so bright. She was dressed all in white, an angelical sight, with her hair flowing free, shining gold flaxen hair. And he loved his maiden, his lady so fair. And they danced and they sang, and they laughed and they cried, while the world was at peace for a man and his bride. And they sang and they danced and they laughed cold, crystal clear. He remembers it so. Now he sits all alone with his pictures close by, and a tear starts to form as he speaks with a sigh. Look at her picture, so faded and worn. When I think of our love, a smile starts to form. We sang and we danced and we laughed and we cried and we loved and made love. What a beautiful life. It was love, love, wondrous love. It was love, love from heaven above. It was love, love, wondrous love. It was love from heaven.
Wow, that was kind of amazing. I mean, just think what I got from my father. These are his home movies, and 3,000 negatives. And wow. Well, from here, we're going to walk into the main lobby, and we're going to start at Remnants. And I have a special speaking guest today, Julie Schechter, who's going to help read what her grandfather Sam Schechter wrote starting in the early 1900s. So another treat coming up. Let's walk in the air and we'll continue the presentation inside the room. Thank you. I was running one of the largest home building operations in Broward County and had just laid off 100 people. So I sat down one day and just wrote on a pad of paper the Ronnie Reaganomics Supply Side Economic Blues. And so I've been building great American homes since 1945, the year I was born. And 6 weeks later, it was written up in Billboard magazine, and I said, oh my God, this music industry is so simple. You write lyrics, and 6 weeks later, you're written up in Billboard magazine. So we pressed 10,000 copies, and nobody bought any, but it was a great experience. That was the first song I wrote. So, starting in 1957, when I was 12, when my dad gave me his first used camera, Remnants is a 68-year-old journey of artistic and humanistic growth. That year, my dad purchased a used Zeiss Icon Contessa camera from a pawn shop on Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn, where he was in the electrical contracting business. He built a darkroom in a house, and he taught me photography and the love of art. If you ask me what I do, I would say I'm an artist who uses photography to create art. But it almost always starts with a photograph of one sort or another. We're a family of collectors, as you have seen and will see again. My grandparents, my uncle, where's Joni?
Here.
Joni's dad. My parents and my grandparents, my sisters and myself, they left me all of these things. It is the remnants of those collections that allowed me to visit my pre- and post-Holocaust family. Before his death, at the young age of 61 in 1975, he gave me a true legacy, 3,000 mostly negatives, photographs, from when he received his first camera at the age of 8 in 1924. The picture on that wall of my grandfather, David Lantenberg, is attributed to my dad with his first camera from think about it, it's 100 years ago. Pretty remarkable. I also inherited his cameras, both still and moving, and his home movie collection. And boy, did he leave me home movies. Just remarkable. That I can look at my parents in their 5th anniversary. I can look at the Schechters dancing with my grandma Fanny. Wow. And eventually I received my Uncle Leon's 1928 16 home movies and his camera. He gave it to me. And why did he give it to me? Because he knew that I would take care of it and I would cherish it, which I do. So Julie Schechter, my cousin Julie, who came in all the way from Pittsfield. No, you didn't come in from Pittsfield today. We'll start by reading her grandfather's first-hand account, starting in the late 1890s or early 1900s. Julie, you have the floor, darling.
Hi. So my name is Julie Schechter. I'm the daughter of Martin Schechter and the granddaughter of Sandler Schechter, who's part of the family. And I'm about to read Sam Schechter's earliest memories dictated to his oldest son, Walter, my uncle. Sam Schechter was born in 1893 and he passed in 1986. And this is Sam Schechter's earliest memories, told to his son, Walter. I remember living in a house, Hashukna, Ukraine, with all my brothers and sisters. This would be late 1890s to early 1900s. Our family lived in only half the house. On the other side lived my aunt and Uncle Perlmutter with their children nicknamed Shia the Lawn One and Shia the Redhead. We all grew up together. And by the way, my grandfather, his Yiddish name was Shia. I was always building things, and I would skip Hebrew school to whittle a model of my father's windmill. When my father found out, he broke it into pieces as punishment of skipping Hebrew school. When I was very young, I helped my father grind grains for customers. In return for grinding their grain, we charged them by keeping some of the grain for our family. One day, when I was a little older, it was my shift to watch the mill. There was a tremendous wind shift, and the windmill blew down. The grinding stones of the grist mill were damaged. I was so frightened that my father would blame me for this accident because I was alone in the mill. Instead, I was entrusted by my father to chip out new grooves into the stones. When I finished, I was very proud of my work. At about age 15, I was placed as an apprentice and a blacksmith in Melnitchen and left home to learn the trade. I took great pride in doing excellent work, and soon the owner entrusted me with the keys to the shop. When I was 20 years of age, I left the Ukraine. It was 1914. I was traveling through Europe, and I gave a bribe to a border guard so I could get to Rotterdam. There, I boarded a ship to Ellis Island and to New York, United States. The trip took 9 days on 3-tiered bunk beds in the hold. So many were seasick, and in a chaotic process, I lost my shoes. And so it was, at age 20 years old, I arrived shoeless to this new world on Election Day, 1914. My brother Joe met me in New York, and we went to Newark, New Jersey, where my sister Sarah lived. I lived as a boarder for a few years and then found employment at a local blacksmith. Because I spoke no English, I went to night school to learn the language. Later, I went to New York City, where my brother taught me to be a buttonhole maker in the garment district. This is where I met my future wife, Molly Hauser. We went to dances, concerts, and Jewish theaters. It was a wonderful time. I became a citizen in 1918 and voted for FDR. I became an ardent Democrat. I took great pride in other Jewish immigrants who made it to the top. Men like actor Paul Mooney, Supreme Court Justices Felix Frankfurter and Louis Cardoza, and Hall of Fame basketball player Nat Holman. I married Molly Hauser in 1919 and moved to Pittsfield, Massachusetts in 1923. We bought a house at 131 Linden Street, where I set up a blacksmith shop in 1924. There I continued to work for 50 years. I went to work every day and did my best with whatever came up. I went fishing at the local lakes every weekend, enjoying my family. I went to the little shul around the corner for services every week and on all Jewish holidays. My Uncle Walter adds, he always carried himself in a courtly manner, tipping his hat when he passed the ladies. He was only 5'3", with arms like Popeye due to the blacksmith work, and he was the kindest, most gentle man I have ever known.
Thank you. So we go back again. The theme today is almost 100 years ago. So he came over, and this is his wedding picture. 1919, Sam and Molly. So Remnants started with a photo of my great-grandparents. So as a child, my parents had all of these pictures, and I was always fascinated by this picture for two reasons. Number one, who was taking the picture? This is almost a self-portrait of the artist taking a picture of my grandparents, my great-grandparents. Don't know who it is, don't know how the picture got to the States. And then the other thing that struck me was just the abject poverty of where they lived. And again, now, reading what my cousin Peter Schechter, Peter, we love you. Peter is a newfound Schechter relative.
Walter's son.
Walter's son. Peter lives out in Santa Monica, California, and he is providing me with all this family history that I didn't know. I didn't know Peter existed. So they were in the shtetl, and this is their wedding picture, 1919, an unknown Schechter family photo. This is Sam Schechter and Charlie. They came over before the Holocaust. They were survivors. And I'm not sure who the other two people are. There were so many families that lived together, cousins, aunts, uncles. They were boarders. You know, one person would come to New York or Pittsfield, and then other people would join them. This is the family, Holocaust family. My grandma Fanny, and me and my mom. 102 Albemarle Road, Brooklyn. 1945. There were 5 of us in the family. We lived in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath house. And my Nana, Mary, who had some drinking issues at the time, lived with us for 2 years. So there were 6 of us in the house. Yet, so I added color to this and created something that represents my life, grown from the remnants of 1920 in a land far away, a time span of just over 100 years, to those of us who survived, from remnants to abundance. We're going to go down to the end over here, and we're going to talk about the Lantenberg side of the family. So this is my father's side of the family. The Schechters, my grandma Fanny was a Schechter, born in Russia. David Lantenberg came over to the United States in the port of Odessa with his parents. His father was a tailor, and this is a story in the New York, it's written on the back, about the amazing success. So this is titled The American Dream. DL came over, he was 2 years old. His ambition was evident, beginning to show early. He placed an ad, December 17th, 1905, boy 18, graduate, wishes permanent position, good references, David Lantenberg, 15 and a half, Lomar Street, Brooklyn. I'm not sure why it wasn't just 55, whatever. They lived in half a place probably, because that's probably all they can afford. So he was just amazing. And my grandma Mary was equally as amazing. She was born in Brooklyn in 1980. I have her original birth certificate. Her father was a master carpenter. Her mother died when she was around 2 or 3, and she spent 2 or 3 years at an orphanage. And as successful as she was, my Uncle Leon would tell me that if she had a tiny piece of onion left, she couldn't throw it out, because when she lived in the orphanage, she wanted for food. They did not have enough food. That was that generation. By 1918, they had established themselves with concessions in movie theaters, playhouses, racetracks, and burlesque houses through New York City. DL always had his eye on the most valuable concession in the city. Anybody ever hear of Madison Square Garden? Wow. And I have 10 hours of videotapes of my Uncle Leon, and he had a photographic memory, or like all the other Lautenbergs, he'd made stuff up, I'm not sure. So he would tell me in great detail all the stories. So he wanted Madison Square Garden, and this is actually the result of what he did. And he was turned down by Tex Ritter, who was the manager of the garden. When he was turned down, DL didn't like to take no for an answer. He was 5 feet tall, but his personality made up for his shortness and stature, as he used to say. So when he was turned down, he got in his car, drove to Florida, met with the Ringling Brothers, who actually owned the garden, and secured the contract by giving them $150,000 in cash. It was like 1920, 1921. They'd made a lot of money. Now, the amazing part of this story is driving back to Brooklyn, he stopped at the Coca-Cola company, where they had done a lot of business, and got a $50,000 contract payment for Coca-Cola for the exclusive garden rights to Coca-Cola products.
Wow. Wow.
He made 2 more stops on the way back. He stopped by with the hot dog vendor and the candy vendor. By the time he got back to Brooklyn, he had secured his entire $150,000 investment. Pretty remarkable. That's who he was. Ambitious and inventive. Oh, so if you have a chance, this is an amazing story about both my grandparents, my Nana and my grandfather. Here's a picture of them with the plates that they used in Madison Square Garden. This is 100 years old, 1924. And the convention, the Democratic Convention in 1924 was deadlocked. So it was the longest convention in the history of politics. So here's tokens he had made for the garden with his name on it. And ambitious and inventive, he also became involved with early canning molding. Along with my Uncle Leon, he received a patent for molding chocolates. This is a chocolate. David Lautenberg and Leon Lautenberg to mold chocolates. And from that, my Uncle Leon became one of the first people in the United States to get into the plastic molding business. So, why is this more than the history of my family? Because their success led to their ownership of both still and movie cameras. This was my Uncle Leon's movie camera. 16 millimeter movie camera. I have a 20-minute interview with him about the day he got the movie camera for his 30th birthday. There's film in here, original film. This picture of David, which I mentioned before, of DL, was taken at Camp Oneida. These are the original Camp Oneida books from the 1920s. And that's DL standing in front of what my Uncle Leon said was one of the few cars made of this type, but who knows whether that was true or not. We embellish a lot, so. And my Nana was just remarkable. My grandparents got divorced in the early 1930s. They both had volatile tempers. And from the early 1930s, my Nana went into the catering business. And she would cater parties from 20 people to 1,000 people. She had a gigantic house in Brooklyn, and her basement was just a full workroom. She would stay up 24 hours a day cooking. This is a prize that we have her original recipe book from 1920, Ange? 26. The original recipe book from 1926. And if you go through the book, they'll say, okay, this is for 50 people, this is for 400 people. So she would adjust the recipes based on what she was making. These are some of the utensils that she had. They lived in Borough Park in Brooklyn. They moved there in 1914, the year my dad was born. This is her. She was a force of nature. I think she outweighed my grandfather probably by 80 pounds. I don't know how that worked out, but it didn't last forever. And this is some of her cooking utensils that we got. So just an amazing other side of the family. They were, Nana was in an orphanage. She had 2 older stepsisters. One of them married into the Zinn family, which are one of the founders of Temple Emmanuel in Manhattan. And just all these incredible stories of, they were part of the Jewish aristocracy in New York, and just had amazing stories to tell. DL lived to be 99, and forces of nature, both of them. Okay, we're now going to go down to, let's go down to Life, Death for Family, and because this is really one of the most probably difficult for me to talk about, but I will do my best. So Marty Foreman, who unfortunately can't be here today, was the CEO and executive director of Life, Death for Family. They were in Broward County in the hood, and they would feed probably between 200, 300, 400 people a day. They also had shower facilities, they had a mailroom. And I met Marty January, God, it's amazing, January, February 2010. She asked me if I could do a video for their anniversary of Life Net for Families in Fort Lauderdale. And they had no money, so I said, sure, I'd do it. And made a lifelong friend. I started visiting and taking photos of the clients. I would return with prints for them. Some of them would say they would send them to their families who hadn't seen them for years. Think about that. I'm giving them a picture of them, and they're saying, I'm going to send this to my mother. She doesn't know what I look like because she hasn't seen a picture of me for 3 years. This is obviously before cell phones, and these people didn't have cell phones. I later began doing the same thing at Boca Helping Hands. Daisy, look at this face, look at these eyes. Now this is Boca Raton, Florida, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't downtown Fort Lauderdale. Daisy would walk an hour and a half every day to get a free lunch. It's etched in her eyes. And in putting the show together, I see that I took this picture February 10th, 2011, and her full name is Daisy Bingham. And when I would sit down with them, I would like to get their first and last names. I always got waivers from them because I donated all these pictures. This picture of the composite here, this sold at an auction for Life Net for Family for $5,000. There's a picture 3 times this size that's hanging at the National Coalition of the Homeless in Washington, D.C. And I've taken portraits of more than 900 clients sitting across the camera from me, always wanting to give each one of them something that they never ever got. Full attention. Somebody caring. And I wanted to make them feel like CEOs taking a headshot. So my work on the homeless has been featured on TV, in the press, and artistic exhibitions. Read this if you have a chance. This is Curtis Thomas. Sweet, sweet man. So, my life was touched forever by Curtis. I wrote a short piece about him. It's featured here today. I hope you take the time to read it. I miss Curtis. So, next, my dad. So my dad was born in Brooklyn in 1914. To the folks on that wall, DL and Mary, I can't even imagine what it was like growing up in the household. I do know that it was at times very chaotic and very loud. He was an electrical contractor by trade. He got his first camera at the age of 8. And the photo of DL is attributed to my father, taken by my dad, 1924 to 1925. He loved both still photography and making movies. The video we saw in the other room was my dad's home movies. He loved doing both. As I was growing up, he would come home from a trip to Willoughby Camera in the city and proudly show my mom, my sisters, and me his latest used camera purchase. Remarkably, never paying more than $50 for a camera. His Hasselblads, which I know he paid a lot more than $50 for, some accessories for the Hasselblad, his Nikon camera, and this is a Minox camera, and he was an active member of the Brooklyn Camera Club. There's a picture of him with the Nikon camera, with the church in the background from Southerville, and he'd love to go to the Camera Club meetings because that's where he tried to always learn and try to get more involved with his photography, more involved with his art. So the photo of him in the church were both taken at a Camera Club meeting. And as far as I know, he never sold a photo in his short lifetime. I have loved scanning and restoring his work. And now 20 of his images are in the permanent collection of the Boca Museum of Art, along with others that I've sold to private collectors. His Minox camera, and the negatives are here, they're tiny, so I would scan and look for things to work on. This is a Minox negative, that's the original camera, and I colorize a picture. And one of the things I always try to do with my dad, what would he do? What was his vision? He didn't have a computer, he didn't have a cell phone. But I tried to stay true to what I think my dad would have wanted me to do, and that's what I love doing. The picture of the Peace Rally, in my opinion, is one of the greatest pictures taken in New York City. It was taken in 1967. This is the original negative. These are the original negatives. That's his proof sheet and his negative sleeve. And if you have a chance, just look at the people in the picture. What my dad had an incredible eye for was capturing life, capturing people, capturing the emotions of people. And that, I think, explains it all. And from the permanent collection of Angela Lautin,
My favorite series.
this picture is in the permanent collection of the Boca Museum of Art. And Angela said, "Oh, look at this one." A minute after, they gave my dad the finger. I guess they didn't like him taking the pictures. So we're going to move to the last of my series of walls. Does anybody have any questions? Or you want to wait till I finish? Let's finish up here, and then I'll see if anybody has any questions. Yes. So I'm an artist who uses photography to create art. So I can sit and I can take 100 pictures. I could be at Laura's house. Where's Laura? I can be at Laura's house and take 500 pictures, and she said, "Well, what are you taking a picture of that? I don't understand. What do you see in that?" And I'll send her the pictures. "Oh my God, that's pretty good. It's beautiful." So we've been lucky enough to spend time with Angela's family. They live in South Dakota. So, do we know what year this is, Angela? I can't even remember what year this is. This was taken probably 10, 15. Was this the wedding? Tea?
No, this was Jean's 50th birthday.
Wow, wow. So how many years ago would you guess this is?
18.
18 years ago. So we're out in Tea in Alexandria, South Dakota, and I'm taking pictures of the kids. The first place we stayed at had a swimming pool that had a slide, and I probably took 200 pictures of the kids in the slide. And then my thinking for creating art, what's this called? The evolution of concept. So the evolution of concept is I'll look at a picture and I'll say, okay, here's a picture of Sonny, here's a picture of Sonny walking. What can I create that's more artistic than each individual element itself? And I thought, maybe in this case, less isn't more. 2 Sonnies are better than 1 Sonny. And to me, it's about composition, it's about creating, it's about seeing things that other people might not necessarily see. It's about color, it's about light, it's about texture. And I've always just really loved this picture, Sonny, that I put together. And then for the last two in the series, this is Chasey, Sonny's sister, and this picture was in the West Palm Beach Airport under Art in Public Places. I've had 2 or 3 of them there. This is the original picture, and you know, obviously I use Photoshop. I do not use AI. I do not use AI. I hope I never use AI. That might change tonight, I don't know. But I don't understand AI. I don't understand people just saying, okay, here's my picture, AI, create something. So this is the original. That was what I created. And then Angela and I spent a lot of time in the Keys. So I love watching people, and I love the interaction of people and how they act to nature. A group of 5 or 6 kids by the breakwater, water splashing in, and we would go down to the pier at night, and this is a composite probably of around 6 different sunsets, moonrises, and then I just sit and I play with it, and I just say, okay. And I just like the feeling, I just like the kid pointing, I like the emotion, I like the action, the dynamics of the photograph. So, it says turn over. You can Google me. I have a website called Lew Lautin Photography. I taught photography at the Boca Museum of Art and the Coral Springs Museum of Art for 9 years. And the thing I like teaching the best with my teenagers, just wow. You got a group of 14, 15, 16-year-old kids who have some interest in being there, and it's just the greatest thing you could do. My family's here, my kids are here, my grandkids are here, Angela's here, and if anybody wants to ask a couple of questions, please feel free. Anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm asking you a question about how clear your photos are. I'm sure that the print initially was not anywhere near that big.
Okay.
The quality.
Okay, great question. I bring my studio lights in. I did commercial photography. I have 2 gigantic studio lights, and I wanted the people I was sitting across from to feel like a CEO.
Okay.
And so I used a very good camera, and I used incredible lighting. And so these are studio shots. These are shots that somebody would pay $500 to have somebody come to their office for a headshot. And then after I take the shot, I would work on it. And I'd work on it till I thought it was worthy to give the person who shared their time with me, who gave me their time. So that's why these are as clear as they are. Oh, and I didn't talk about this one other one here, this composite. This is Tony Scott. And again, creating art, the art of creation. So I was a builder developer, and in urban law, there's the concept of the broken window theory, that if a neighborhood starts to have broken windows and nobody takes care of them, then the neighborhood starts to deteriorate. So in this case, I just really liked the picture of Tony, and I lived in South Beach for a while, and there was an architectural detail with a broken window. So in this picture, I put Tony Scott in a broken window, hoping that somebody would repair the window and the neighborhood would deteriorate. Next question.
Well, go along with that. This is all new to me. I mean, I certainly know photography, but how you put it together, it looked like an oil painting.
Yes, correct.
And how does one do that?
Okay, some of my pictures I call more painterly than others. The picture of Looking for Sunny, I would say, is one of my more painterly pictures. The picture of Daisy's portrait is, to me, a straight up and up photograph. I'm an artist, and I'll sit down, and depending on what my mood is, you know, how I'm feeling, what's going on in the world, I create, and sometimes I prefer to make things more painterly, sometimes I prefer to make things more accurate to the moment I took the picture. It's art.
But when you say painterly, are you actually using paints?
No, no, no. I actually started painting about 5 months ago. These are all done with digital photography, some film photography, but mostly digital photography. This is all done. None of this is painted. I also change my printing sometimes. I used to have a 44-inch printer, so some of the things I will print on canvas. This is printed on canvas. I did this print on canvas. And when you print on canvas, you do get a more painterly type of feeling.
Say hi to your friends because it's going to...
What?
Say hi to your friends because it's going to end in a minute.
Hello. Hi, guys.
They're on mute, but...
So the media you print on will affect, does it look painterly or does it not look painterly? Or does it look straight photographic? Any more questions? I cannot thank 2 people enough, so hold on before we leave. Ellen has been the bearer of the flowers. Susanna, you're the best.
Thank you.
I couldn't have done it without you. And of course, Angela has been the driving force of this. She's more responsible for this than I am. Thank you. You can Google me, Lew Lautin, and you'll see my work. I have a website. My photography is for sale. And in the next month or 2 or 3, I'm going to try to get back into teaching. And I'm going to try to get back into offering my artistic services, like creating this for people who have family photos, who would like a piece of art for their home that is not necessarily available in AI. So, thank you for coming.